Hi, I'm Christina, and this is a book review of The Life Impossible by Matt Haig. So this is his brand new book and it was published this year in 2024. So let me just start by saying that I absolutely love Matt Haig as an author. He is one of my favourite authors of all time, and my favourite book by him is The Midnight Library. That is one of my best books ever. And then I also absolutely love How to Stop Time. That is another one that's one of my favourite books of all time. And I've also read The Humans by him, which I enjoyed. So I just want to say thank you to Kirsten over at Reading Nymph for gifting me a copy of this book. She sent this to me in the post and it was so incredibly sweet of her. And I just want to say thank you so much. It was so exciting to read a proof copy of this book. It's the first proof copy I've ever read. And it was so exciting to read this book before it was actually published because it's one of my most anticipated releases of the entire year. It is the most anticipated release I've had of the whole of 2024, so it was so lovely to read it. And I will go and link her down below and you should definitely go and check her out. She is definitely my favourite person on booktube. So yeah, I'll go and link her so you can go and check her out. So let me tell you a little bit about the book. So our main character is called Grace and she is 72 years old. She is a retired maths teacher and she lives alone because sadly her husband passed away 4 years ago when he was 68 years old. So she is now a widow and she's also lost her son when he was a child. So grief is a huge theme in this story. And obviously she's going through an incredibly difficult time in her life because she's lost her husband and she's also lost her son. Even though it was decades ago, she's still very, very raw, the pain and the grief that she feels for her son and also for her husband. And on top of all of that, she's also lost a great deal of money. So she had life savings of around £23,000 and that was stolen from her by a scammer. So she's having a very, very difficult time. I think she's definitely very lonely, very sad, very depressed, just struggling with trying to come to terms with everything that's happened to her and the loss of her loved ones, and then also the loss of her financial security as well. And then she gets told that she is inheriting a house. So a friend that she used to have years ago when she was a teacher and she met this woman while they were teaching, has left her a house in her will. So she was completely taken by surprise by this. She had no idea that she was even in this person's will. She hasn't seen her for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden she's been left a house. So this house is on the island of Ibiza. She's never been there before and she's kind of debating whether she should go exactly or whether she should just stay at home and just kind of not go and not see what happens. And then she decides to go to Ibiza. And I will say that he paints this island in a brilliant, brilliant way. And I don't know if it was his intention to make me want to go to Ibiza, but he certainly sold me on the idea of visiting the place because it sounds absolutely beautiful. And I did do a little bit more research on the place just because it's not just a setting in this story, it's kind of a main character in the story, if you will. If we can have the whole island as kind of a character in a story, it's kind of a love letter to the place. And I know that he had a very difficult time himself when he was on the island and he tried to commit suicide, he said, while he was on the island of Ibiza. So I'm sure there's a lot of emotions contained within this place for him, and it's definitely, in my opinion, like a love letter to the island. The way he writes about it, it sounds like such a beautiful, wonderful place. And I also learned a lot about the actual island that I didn't really know before. So the idea of kind of rising rents, so local people are struggling to live in certain areas, and you know, the issues with kind of Airbnbs rather than people living there, and it's kind of going to tourists, and then the issues with big developers building massive hotels and massive establishments on areas of sacred beauty that should be protected. And there was a lot of interesting things that he discussed, like the politics of the island and the economics of it, and kind of just talking about the whole concept of Ibiza and everything that's kind of going on in it right now. And he also throws it back to decades ago and talks about, you know, the history of the music and the artists that went there, etc., etc. And it was very interesting to see this whole snippet of Ibiza. I will just say though, I wasn't as connected to the main character of Grace as I had been connected to the main characters in The Midnight Library or How to Stop Time, for example. And I'm not 100% sure why that was. I just didn't kind of feel that connection to her. And I will say I haven't enjoyed this one quite as much as the other two, but it would be very, very difficult because they are some of my favourite books of all time, and I think the bar was incredibly high, and I think it's mainly more on the theme. So in the sense that with The Midnight Library and How to Stop Time, I love those themes. I love the theme of like playing with time and time travel, and I love the idea of The Midnight Library that, you know, she was thinking about ending her life and then looking at all the different opportunities, all the different lives that you could have lived. So we have obviously the theme of like multiple lives and then the theme of time travel, and they're some of my favourite themes of all time. And I like the theme in this one too. It's more kind of magical realism and supernatural, aliens, those kind of things. But I would say that the kind of supernatural aspect and the kind of magical realism aspect, it's not something that I'm normally drawn to. So I think it's more that I'm not as into the theme as much as else, because his writing was still really good and everything is very much, it feels very Matt Haig, obviously. I think he has a certain style that I can definitely identify. All of his books are filled with hope and just the theme of hope, essentially. I always come away feeling very uplifted normally by his books. And he definitely looks at a lot of different themes, such as grief and depression and, you know, the loss of a loved one, and it does cover a lot of those things too, but I just preferred The Midnight Library and How to Stop Time. But I still enjoyed this one. I'm giving it 3 stars, and I think out of all of them, this is probably my least favourite along with The Humans. But like I say, he's one of my favourite authors, and those 2 books are some of my favourite books of all time, so it was always going to be likely that I wasn't going to enjoy it quite as much. One of the things I always enjoy about reading a book by Matt Haig is how beautiful his writing is. So normally when I'm reading a book, I'll make down notes on the places, people's names, their ages, things like that, just so I can refer back to different parts of the book when I'm making my book review video. But when I may read a book and I'm really enjoying the writing itself, I will always write down some of the quotes that I thought were particularly powerful, or ones that resonated with me, or ones that just made me sit there for a moment and think and just kind of really take in what it actually means. And I have some quotes that I would like to share with you that I think are really powerful, or they resonated with me in some way. So on page 91, there is, "In this state of mind, it was hard to see any living person and not imagine the hole they would cause if they were gone. To see everyone on earth as someone's grief waiting to happen." I thought that was just such a brilliant, brilliant line. So the next quote I want to share is on page 139. "You see, if you want to visit a new world, you don't need a spacecraft. All you need to do is change your mind. And my mind was absolutely changed. Everything ached with beauty." Again, I just thought that was really, really lovely. So the last quote that I want to share is, I think, very profound, and it's very, very true. "People you love deeply become elemental. To hear they won't be there anymore is like hearing the air or ocean won't be. It feels like a fatal disruption to the universe." Again, I just feel like that's such a powerful, powerful quote. So yeah, those are all the quotes I wanted to share with you. Again, I think this book was written really, really beautifully. All of his books are written really, really beautifully. I just wasn't quite as into the theme and the main character of this one as The Midnight Library and How to Stop Time. I definitely still recommend that you read it if it sounds interesting to you. If you've never actually read a book by him before, I personally would say start with The Midnight Library, but only because that is my favourite. This one might turn out to be your favourite. We're all obviously very different, and different things will mean different things to different people. I just connected with The Midnight Library so much, and honestly it's always going to have a place in my heart in that book, so I would always say that is my favourite. And I doubt anyone's going to really write a book that's going to knock it off that spot, even Matt Haig himself. But yes, I've still enjoyed it, and it was really, really exciting to read this book before it was released. Like I say, this was my most anticipated release of the whole of 2024, and I did enjoy it. I've given it 3 stars, and if you have read it, I would love to know what you thought of it. And if you've read a lot of his books, I would love to know which one is your favourite, because I definitely want to read some more soon. and I have actually just recently bought another book by him, one of his older backlist books, so I will definitely get around to that at some stage. So yes, if you've read multiple books by him, definitely let me know which one is your favourite, and if it's one of the ones I haven't read yet, definitely let me know that too. And then yeah, if you've read this, I would love to know what you thought of it down in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video.